Hi, I'm Sophie,
Hi, I'm Paul,
and we are SP film viewers.
and today's film that Sophie hasn't seen is The Truman Show.
With
Jim Carrey.
you sold it to me that Jim Carrey was in it, and you know I love Jim Carrey because my favourite Christmas movie is The Grinch. Well, my Grinch is the Jim Carrey Grinch.
It's not everybody's cringe.
Well, it's mine.
Okay.
And that's so. And then obviously you've got Ace Ventura, you've got Liar Liar.
Yeah. So this film was out in 1998. So there's Ace Ventura and Liar Liar, the films you just mentioned. They were actually earlier works that he did. So kind of coming to his own in the early 90s, and then
Yeah, I get where you're coming from, because I think when you were like Jim Carrey, I straight away assumed it was going to be humorous.
well, there is a bit of humour in this thing, but it's a bit more serious. You can see more tendencies of his Ace Ventura and Liar Liar mannerisms as in a sense. But
And oh my gosh, the mask as well.
yeah, the mask, yeah.
So it's just
He had a good year,
yeah, he did definitely,
decade,
and
I should say.
I think that was kind of straight away when you said Jim Carrey, ping,
Yeah.
all that popped into my head,
Mm-hmm.
and actually, you actually see Jim Carrey in a different light.
Yeah.
You get to see more of his acting skills. So I was asking a lot of questions at the beginning, wasn't I? Because I was like, I don't understand
The premise of
what's going on here.
Yeah, so I was trying to explain that his character Truman is living his life, but he doesn't know that he's actually being filmed as part of a 24-hour television broadcast.
Because I initially thought it was like, oh, the Truman Show, and I thought he was like this well-known celeb
Host, yeah.
that kind of went round, did this show, and then lived his life, and he had like this White House, beautiful wife, perfect life.
Yeah, that's what they're making it look like for him, like the American dream with the white picket fence and all that stuff.
And he seems to be genuinely happy at the beginning. He's like not questioning for anything. He's not really picking up on anything. And this has been for 30 odd years that this has gone on.
Yeah, his whole life.
His whole entire life. So he basically, the bit that I can see when it kind of dawns on him that something's not normal is when he's in the car and he's driving and his radio tunes in.
Yeah, it goes a bit haywire and then it just tunes into whoever's taking directions. Like, oh, he's taking a left on whatever street, and it's like, what?
Yeah. And he's like, I'm on that street, and then it says something else, and then he's like, okay. And then ever since then...
There was a bit earlier on, though, it was where there's a light fixture that falls from the sky.
No, I didn't even clock that, because at that point I wasn't even truly aware of what was going on.
Oh, okay.
So I was like, oh, well, what is that? What's falling on the floor?
Try and explain that to you.
You did, but it didn't enter my head of what was happening. And I was thinking, is it from an aeroplane or what is it?
That's what someone would try and pass it off as if they were there to explain it to him, but it's kind of like, this is weird.
Yeah.
But then he carries on, just like...
But then actually I realised it's a big movie light that's dropped.
Studio light, yeah.
But I didn't even really tune in. It was mainly my breakthrough of understanding what was going on was on the radio, when he kind of twigs that everybody is actors, basically.
Yeah, every single person in that world,
apart from Truman.
Yeah, on this island is an actor.
Yeah, and they're not related to him. They don't really... I don't know if they do have any care for him, or if it's just a job for them. It must be bizarre, because literally, like that, his wife, she's living with him. She's not going home, is she? You know, it's not like just a thing on the telly.
Yeah, and then she sneaks out,
and
goes back to him. Yeah, no, it's all very strange, isn't it?
So it's like, and his mother, you know, it's like, literally, they're not getting to have their family. So it's like, so must they have some love for Truman, in a sense, or is it selflessly kind of thinking, well, if Truman leaves, then I'm out of a job? I don't know how selfish.
It's all very layered, isn't it? It's like, well, how much money are they getting that's going to compensate for living this lie that they're all doing?
So I think initially I was okay with it until he started figuring it out, and this was when you could see he was getting more and more distressed, and then it was the upsetting part of where people were saying he's losing the plot a little bit, kind of making him really doubt himself, like he's going mental at one point. So I think he kind of does the car, then he gets out and is going to go to work.
Yeah, and I think I remember there being a bit where he's going in an elevator But then he sees like the back of the elevator thing with like where they've got a big food table and like studio sound stage kind of thing, and it's like, what's going on there?
That's not normal. And then he mentions it to his wife, and she's like, oh, well, there was an accident or something there, and she's a nurse. She's like, I've got to rush to work now and fix it because there was something wrong. And they're literally covering everything up with a lie and then another lie. And it's like, well, he must feel in the end so vulnerable, because it's like, well, my whole life has been a lie.
Yeah, I can't imagine it being a very pleasant realisation that everything I'd known at this point is just not been genuine.
No. So anybody that I've loved, anybody that, like, his best friend...
Claiming that, like his best buddy and all that stuff, and even his wife is like, well, did she never really love me?
I don't think she did. She was just forced upon the role, I think.
Yeah. And
it's just that is the heartbreaking side of it, where it's like, well, and as well the privacy side of things.
Well, yeah, one of the things though, just his wife says, let's go to bed, but then cuts to somebody watching the show and says, oh, they just blur it out or something. So obviously there's a bit of discretion there. But I know what you're saying, like for certain things, like if you're having a shower and stuff, I presume that was cameras that were hidden but placed. I don't know how they get things around like that. But
private conversations where, like, let's say you're slagging somebody off or having a good old rant, or, sometimes where you just want people not in the outer world to see you like that.
Yeah,
you
so you
home.
could have like a grievance with someone, but again, I think it's almost like too perfect of a life for him to have any grievances with anyone really. It's kind of like, oh yeah, go and get me paper, go for my job, and it's how you're just doing your normal stuff, but there's no real...
No drama or anything like that, is there really? No. I guess not, but...
There's a lot of product placement, which is kind of weird when you're trying to do it in like a real life situation, like name dropping like a brand, Coco or whatever.
Yeah.
Get one of those nice lawnmowers or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think it's kind of trying to then obviously drip feed into people that are watching it 24/7 to buy these.
Well, that's the
certain things, isn't it? But he's not even aware, like, that this is...
No, like the bit where there's earlier in which like walking to work or whatever, and then there's two guys keep like pushing him in near the things like
Thursday.
Well, isn't that a bit suspicious? What every time I'm walking past here, you push me into this billboard sign it's got like something advertised.
Yeah.
And
then
like weird.
When he was saying about getting the car kind of thing, this was like the turning point where he figured... I don't think he truly knew what was going on, that he was on this show, or I don't think he knew that, so to speak.
At this point, or...
And I don't think he knew until like the very, very end. He knew something was going on, but I don't think he understood the purpose of why. If you get out, like, how would you even come up with that in your own head? Like, people are just not letting me off this island, and all these weird things are happening.
Yeah,
it's revolving around me, but you wouldn't think you were on a TV show, would you?
No, not really. But there's another thing about how hammering in, like, the fear of water, like going out to sea, so that he wouldn't want to leave, try and escape the island. Isn't
that cruel, though? Yeah, it's so cruel. Yeah. It's like putting a cat in a little floating thing on water, and then it never being able to jump off because it's going to be petrified to get into the water. It's absolutely cruel.
Yeah,
and
things like that.
Well, the fact is that story, even about his dad, the one that scarred him, and that's why he doesn't like water, that didn't even actually exist. They made that up.
Yeah, exactly. It's for a story arc in their little soap opera.
So none of that was real, and then they made him traumatised by water.
Well, yeah, I know. I get what you're saying.
So they're like the puppet. Basically, he's like...
Or just to cope this thing of, like, covering their backs with the whole... You're not leaving this place even if you wanted to, because you'd be too terrified to go and do this. But
yeah, and they're aware of that, and obviously then that's where it comes into, like, you're not obviously caring for this person because you're being quite malice with thinking of yourselves.
But there's the only person that does seem to have fallen for him is, I think her name's Lauren or something. But she kind of like tries to let slip. And like, come on, come away with me.
Yeah, and make, because obviously
we haven't got much time. They won't see or hear us.
Yeah.
If we come out in there, she tries to warn him that like your whole life's been a lie.
She just before he even gets married to Meryl, she kind of tries to she kisses him and forewarns him, and then her dad comes, takes her off, and she's like, I've never even seen this man in my entire life. He's not my dad, and obviously because he's never seen anybody act that way before. And you don't know what to believe, do you?
No,
if she's insane or if his dad's lying. So he's in this situation of every time he's like now getting a magazine.
Yeah.
He says, "Oh, one for the newspaper for me, one for the wife," and it's never for his actual wife. He's trying to pin together the face of Lauren.
Yeah.
Which obviously then she goes to Fiji.
Which of all things he could have said, because he does, when he's talking to his friend Marlon, I think it is, they're having like the beers and stuff, and again there's another product placement thing of these beers, and he's saying, "Oh, someday I'm going to go to Fiji or something."
Yeah.
So then when the dad of Lauren comes along and says, "Oh, we're moving to Fiji," it's like, why would you say that of all places?
Yeah.
Because then it would be suspicious. You did say like
that he wanted to go there, and now she's going to be there, and
it's like, could have said somewhere like Australia or
somewhere really, really far away,
or something less obvious than that, because then they'd be super suspicious of.
But it didn't seem to dawn, did he? Even then, I think as well, I did say when we were watching this, why did they pick Truman like to do this too? Where his actual real mum and dad?
And of course, we find out we don't know who his parents are. He's bought for adoption, so the studio technically has adopted him.
Yeah, they've adopted him.
Experiment. Yeah.
Which I'm surprised they actually were allowed to do, and to kind of film this person's life and get away with it.
Yeah, no way would this happen in real.
No.
There'd be an uproar, wouldn't there?
But it is cruel, like the amount of people that are tuned into it. Like, it's like they all are rooting for him, but it's.
But it's like, how sad must their lives be to be sat glued to
his life?
What he does, just brushing his teeth or.
Well, that's just cereal. Like watching Big Brother, isn't it? That to me.
Yeah, but that's just constant. Literally everything, not just within a small window of thing. Or it's like, why? What
is it that makes this person? But I think it's because he's so genuine. That's what the appeal is, because there's no false.
Yeah, because of the fact that he doesn't really know up until this point that he's been filmed on camera. Yeah, no. But I know it's for the purpose of the film, but eventually would have probably found out anyway. There's no way he could have gone through his whole life without.
No, and as well, I think they were being a bit sloppy in the end. They were kind of not tying the rope, kind of with the. Basically, everyone being on the same tune, same page, to make sure that everything's tight knit.
There's always going to be that, isn't it? Just like a normal studio production, or things always go awry. Even think it's smooth sailing, but that it's not. So
there was a part where Truman gets in the car, and he's got Meryl in the car at this point. Yeah,
this is a sort of turning point where he's like, "Look at this."
Yeah,
this is
so
happening.
You can see. Yeah, he's like, "Sit in the car with me," right? So I think it was red bike goes past. Somebody walks.
Yeah, with flowers, and then another like Toyota car or something.
It's a yellow
beat up
car.
Yeah.
And literally they go on a loop around about half an hour. And they keep going round and round and round. But like, to be honest, I was sat there thinking, I could walk to work. I walk past that man every morning. You don't think of it. It's just a normal routine. He's on the same bus as me,
Yeah.
Oh, that's life, isn't it? So it's like, I'm sat there thinking, somebody could be watching me.
Yeah, it does make you a bit paranoid, doesn't it? When this whole thing's like, well, the cameras right now. Am I being filmed? Am I a big part of some?
Yeah, you think that could actually happen. Actually, maybe everybody's being watched. And, it just makes you think all these things, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So I was like, it's going to be boring if they did watch it. But then it makes you think, well, are you sat here because you love me? Or are you getting paid well lords to just sit here and talk to me?
I'm not an actor.
You could say that's what they could be saying in your ear to tell me that you're not.
Yeah, I know what you're saying, yeah.
So it gets you thinking, doesn't it, in real life as well? Maybe I'm the actress and they're paying me to sit next to you. So she gets in the car, and this is where she tries to make him out that he's going crazy at this point.
Yes, that he's becoming more like typical Jim Carrey by this point as well, and kind of like
a bit more irrational like where he was driving and then going around the spinning round, and he can see things like blocking his way. Yeah,
the cars. Oh look! Conveniently, the cars are all coming out at the same time just to block me out from going to where we need to be going. So
then he reverses back and then goes round and round and round. And I realised why he was doing that, because they can't plan. He's going really fast and not sure what direction he's going in.
Yeah.
Because he hadn't told anybody.
Yeah.
And then he was like, went down the same street and it was empty.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, oh, look, this is convenient.
Yeah.
And then obviously there was the water part where he was going to go over it. And she's like, oh, you can't do it. It's understandable. Don't, let's go home and get a cup of tea or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And he makes her drive.
Yeah, he's with his eyes closed. She puts the pedal to the floor and she just controls the car, and then they go over the bridge over to a power plant that's not really had a meltdown at all. It's just...
Well, there was that fire as well that they drove through as well.
Again, that was set a trap.
Yeah, just to scare him and divert him to go back.
But...
It was when, though, that power plant, that man went, said something, hiya, Truman.
Yeah, something like that. So it's kind of gives the game where it's like, well, what?
How do you know my name?
I've never met you.
I've never met you. I don't even know who you are.
Yeah.
Okay, why would you know my name? And then, obviously, he gets out of the car and this is the bit where you can think it's been really cruel, like they're trapping him now on this island.
Yeah.
So he then has it out, basically, with Meryl, who is actually from Love Actually.
Yeah.
She's the one that's in love with Carl.
Yeah.
So just thought I'd put that in there. Still don't know her name in Love Actually.
Can't remember what is escaping me. I've seen it that many times, but I can't actually remember what her name is.
We watch it every year, don't we?
Yeah, it's quite bad.
I know, but I don't know her name.
I think it's brought up very often much, that's why.
No, she seems to... It's more to do with Carl or her brother, isn't it?
Yeah.
Anyways, so they get back to the house and he has a kind of a bit of a shouting match with Meryl, basically saying, you're not understanding me, things are weird in this town, it's, she's like, you're scaring me, you're not well, you freaking me out kind of thing. And then he gets this thing that is a peeler, a grater and something else in 3-in-1 kind of thing. He starts pointing it at Meryl. And I'm thinking, to be honest, she deserves it, because she's lied to him for a good amount of years, pretending to be his wife. At the end of the day, you're meant to love one another if you're married. And he finds, looking through the old wedding photos, there's a picture where him and her are meant to be married on the day, and she's crossing her fingers.
Yeah.
Like, it's not actually even real, the wedding kind of thing. But
there's, sorry, off topic slightly, because again, when we were looking through a photo album earlier on as well, and there's like the Mount Rushmore statues on the mountain side, but they're like really small, so it's obviously not like the real Rushmore. It's kind of just like a prop that they put in the background, just taking the pictures, and like they even points it out. So I thought it was bigger than that.
Yeah, so, and you can tell that.
Yeah, so there are mistakes within the print as well, but it's kind of just like now he's sort of questioning things.
He's looking at it more finer and noticing it, whereas beforehand he wouldn't have even really twigged.
Yeah, sorry.
So I think this is basically his breaking point, where he's getting to a thing of, he's aware that something is watching him, or something is revolving around his life and what he's doing, because how is it conveniently, when I turn down the street, there's cars, next minute there isn't any. These people come to me every Tuesday or Thursday, pin me up against a poster and talk to me. That person always says hello at this exact time.
Yeah, like he says. And
is starting to realise that something's revolving around him, but what exactly? Yeah.
Some people want the world to think that the world revolves around them, and here he is, literally. Literally,
it does revolve around him.
Yeah. So then he's planning his escape to Fiji.
Yeah, and obviously initially he goes to the travel agent and they're like, oh no, we're all fully booked.
And there's posters as well on the walls, and they're like, this, the plane with lightning goes, that this could happen to you, and diseases, and it's like, what kind of travel agent has all these posters up for anybody? Because it's like, well then why would anybody go anywhere?
I think as well, it's a case of they're doing it trying to deter him, but he's like adamant now that he's going. Yeah. So it's like, so even the posters, he looked and thought, that's a bit weird.
Yeah.
And then carried on, it was like, fine, I'll make my own arrangements because it's just, I'm going come what may.
Yeah.
So he has his own little basement, doesn't he, where he keeps all his like kind of treasure chest things.
Yeah. Like
you even said there's like a compass where it's got.
Yeah, you start to notice like things where the cameras would be like on people's buttons and things, but there's a camera on the compass that's on the lid, which is kind of like weird. Why would that be there. And
But how have they even got around to putting it there as well? So that's what was entering my head.
Yeah, they'll have just done this as and when, haven't they? Had people go into his house while he's been out, or when he was younger, where he didn't really know what was going on, stuff like that. This whole this elaborate thing planned out, it's just crazy. But
it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
So he's rummaging through there and kind of trying to do a trap so that it looks like he's slept down there. So he's made a lot of mess.
Yeah.
Being aware that there's cameras now, he's kind of sussed it out. So he's kind of blocked one camera out. He's taped him snoring or something snoring.
Some elaborate, thing of doing that, but it's kind of like all this time that these cameras have been on him, and he's got one up on them.
Yeah.
In the end for this about, someone wasn't, looking away for a moment or something, and somehow managed to pull this off. So he's set this trap where they think he's sleeping, but somehow escaped. And it's like, oh, how's nobody seen him?
Yeah, and how is it? Everybody's meant to be watching him, and nobody's even realised that he's escaped. So I was really, really happy when I'd found out he escaped. It's like, oh, okay, he deserves to escape. And I was worried because obviously then the army of people came out in flux to try and find him.
And at this point they had to shut down the transmission, didn't they, at this point?
Yeah.
And everyone was like, oh my god.
In uproar because it's like, this has never happened, what's going on?
Yeah.
And his best friend goes round trying to, best friend.
Yeah.
Friend that's been paid for God knows how many years to be his friend.
Yeah.
Pretending to get some beers and such and have a chat, and is actually then looking around going, come out, wherever you are, and finds out that he's actually escaped.
So then pretty much the entire cast of the town or whatever is on in a march to try and find him.
Which I think is a bit scary.
Yeah.
I swear I saw it, it was like, it's like a bit, it's one guy and he's got no chance. That's what I was thinking. They literally are going to find him. So he did it at night, obviously, because he was asleep, and that actually made it harder for them to find him, to look through.
Yeah.
So this bit made me quite sad. So he got a boat.
All right, I wonder what you meant.
To say that he thought he'd lost his dad at sea.
Which he did sort of, the actor of the dad came back, didn't he? Kind of as if to say, like,
he'd survived
or something. Yeah.
But then apparently this actor wanted to be back in on it.
Yeah.
I think that's what it was. He wanted to be on it again. I thought it was cruel at first, but then when I realised it wasn't actually his parents, then it was like, well, I couldn't care less if he was back on the scene or not. So he gets this boat, so he's conquering his fears. However, I wasn't aware until the beginning of this scene, beginning of the movie, that they controlled the light, the weather.
Literally everything.
Literally everything. There was one scene where he's on the beach and it's literally just raining on him.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's a bit strange. And I think that's when mine kind of... And then I got the concept of this is all...
how this world works.
Yeah. Because you kind of see the actors and the actresses playing two parts. Apart from Truman.
Yeah.
Who's actually just him himself.
Yeah.
It's kind of a bit like the Shutter Island in a sense, because you've got the actors and then you've got the ones actually being doctors looking after him. It's kind of the same role of them advertising being actresses and then trying to be a wife figure to him as well.
Yeah.
So obviously now we're back on the water, and he's actually got a boat and gone onto the water, which is a massive thing for him to do. Linking back with the weather, once they've found that they have to turn it to daylight at a ridiculous o'clock to find him, they then eventually find him on the water, and this is where I think it becomes really, really cruel. And I didn't know if it was a case of they were going to basically kill him and be so selfish to kill him off at sea, then let him
at sea,
then let him be free.
Yeah, create a massive storm just for him to potentially drown and stuff. Yeah, we'd rather do that than have him go out into the real world and.
Yeah, I think that was the bit that made me most sad, because it was like, well, I did think they were going to kill him off, and that was going to be the end of his life. It was like he'd never be able to experience real life, and it was like he was doing it out of selfishness because he didn't want.
Well, the creator of the show, you mean, yeah.
didn't want him to leave. Because he thought in his head he was giving him the best life.
Yeah, it was sort of like that was his overall father, wasn't it? You know, overseeing everything. You know, he literally watched him grow from.
Well, so has many people, though, really. The whole world has watched his first steps, has watched.
But this is his big project, and he doesn't want to. Well, he doesn't want to let go of him, but he's willing to kill him off just to let him go. I don't know.
So he kind of gets angry and mad.
Yeah.
And literally it's like danger weather now that they're throwing at this boat. Just deter him from going any further and coming back.
Yeah.
Trying to scare him, basically. I don't think they want to kill him, but they want to make him be so scared that he either passes out or he ends up not trying to get back. So I think in the end he does actually get the better of them.
Yeah, he doesn't head back or anything like that. He just carries on.
So they have to they back down. And he carries on.
To the edge of the world, pretty much.
Yeah, I didn't get this bit. It took a bit for me to... It, like, kind of just plummeted into this wall, and I was like, eh?
Yeah, it kind of startled you a bit, didn't you?
I didn't get... I don't know. Maybe I was being naive. I just thought the water was his way out. I didn't think they put, like, this big thing up. A big wall that he couldn't even get through.
Yeah, there'd have to be some kind of thing, because it would literally go on for forever, wouldn't it? Like the world is that we know.
That's what I was just assuming. That's why they didn't want him to come off into the water, so that he'd go somewhere else.
Yeah, no, it was all sort of encased in a big, like, bubble.
Yeah.
Within Hollywood, I think it was because there was one shot where you sort of see it from the outside, and it's in this big, massive dome that's in the big studio. So so there is an edge to the world.
Yeah.
That he crashes into with this boat, and then it's like, alright, okay, this is as far as I can go, and then you can see some steps that go up to the exit to see what is out there in the real world.
Yeah.
But before he does, there's a whole thing where it almost like the God thing talking down like, oh, Truman, you know, you won't get your answers out there if you go through that door.
I've created an amazing world for you here.
Yeah.
And basically trying to say you're ungrateful, but obviously it's one of those things of you never know what you've got.
Yeah, who are you to take away my life?
Yeah, and...
You know, my existence of what
real love
is. Yeah, what real love is, what real emotions for people and experiences are. You just keep me cooped up in this place just for your...
And he always wanted to be an explorer, even when he was younger. He always wanted to travel and kind of go out there, and they kind of squandered that a little bit in him. So they do actually let him walk through the door. Because I was waiting for the door not to open or something.
Yeah, but you don't know, he just goes through and
then that's really it, isn't it? You see the girl, obviously, that is kissed on the beach that one time. Lauren,
she's
getting
happy.
A coat and such to greet him.
We assume we don't actually see him do it, but again, that's what's lied.
Oh, well, I'm assuming so. I would have wanted, you know me with my endings, I would have wanted a little bit more.
Yeah, so the way it does end, though, is there's security guards who are watching the TV and whatever. It's like, right, what else is on? Like, you know, like, right, bored of that now.
Yeah, well, that's ended, so...
Yeah, that series ended, so it's moving to something
next.
Else. Yeah, which is, again, sort of kind of what we all are. And sometimes, you know, like, right, we're bored of that, let's change the channel to see what else is on, because we're not interested in that anymore.
Now, I kind of always get sad when we've got, like, if we've got a good series on.
Yeah.
And it comes to an end, and I'm like, oh, now what?
Oh, yeah.
Can't they just make some more?
But for them, that was clearly, you know, 30-odd years film making or whatever, and it's like, yep, right, okay, done with that now.
That's what's happened. We've seen the end, so we know what's going on.
Although it feels a bit like that with Game of Thrones, to be fair. All those years of building it up, and then just like
just a little
ending. But anyway. So yeah, that's... Yeah.
It does bring you through a lot of emotions through the film. I didn't like Meryl at all. Because she was just the falsest. She seemed most false out of all of them.
Yeah.
Like, she was...
Probably the one you've spent most of the time with, really, I guess. Within that world, yeah.
Even his friend seemed more genuine, though.
Yeah, he did.
It did seem to kind of care.
It was hard for him to come to terms with, like, saying these lines that was being delivered over the headset. Saying that I am your friend, I'm not lying to you kind of thing.
Yeah.
But he is, and it's hard for him to say
Say
those
it.
words. But
it's like even with him, did his mum and dad live on the set? You know,
yeah,
how does these things work? There's so many questions.
When you think about it, yeah.
Because like he was only little and he went to school with them and such, and it's like,
yeah, I don't know. Yeah.
Do you get where I'm coming from?
Yeah, I get where you come from. Yeah.
But really, really interesting. I was gripped, and it does weave you from different turns, and
Yeah.
you're not really sure what's. You had to talk me through it a bit because I was like, "What? I'm confused. What's going on?" And I felt like a bit like Truman. I was just thinking we were watching this man's ordinary life, not realizing the whole issues behind the fact that it wasn't. Everybody was watching his life.
Yeah. I wouldn't say it was as confusing as something like Shutter Island or something where you kind of like, oh, what's real, what's not with that.
No, but I think
But still
eventually
this still
unfolds.
made you think, didn't it? Yeah.
It would be definitely, you'd have to rewatch it again and you'd probably re-see things like that I didn't notice the first time.
Yeah.
That would give more clues of earlier on, probably. Like the light thing, and I was like, don't know what that is. Okay. And I was exactly like him, like, right, okay then.
Yeah.
No questions asked kind of thing. It did make me sad. It made me joyous at the same time that he was, obviously, they allowed him to leave.
Yeah, he got what he deserved at the end.
I would have liked a little bit at the end to kind of show him in normal day life, to see if that's all it was cracked up to be for him.
No, I don't think that would have worked. That would have maybe lessened the impact a little bit, really.
And or she being there, Lauren.
Yeah, maybe hug him or something.
Yeah.
At least
something like that.
Maybe that would have sufficed, but I don't think any then 2 months later, and then
he hates the world.
It would have lessened the impact of what they were going for.
But overall, really enjoyed it. I'm surprised it's one of those. You said it, and have you watched Truman? And I'm like,
yeah, no, I couldn't remember if you had or not, or because it had Jim Carrey in it. I thought you might have seen it at some point.
Never seen it in my entire life, which is I've never even heard of it until you said, "Have you watched it?"
Based on that recommendation, are you glad I told you about it?
I am definitely glad.
Okay, good. I'm glad.
So, should we go to
your rating? Yeah.
So, I think I'd probably give it an 8. I think it gave you ups and downs that you didn't expect. It was funny, at the same time pulled on your heartstrings. It was overall intriguing and didn't really disappoint. Would have wanted a little bit more in the ending because that's just always me. I just always want more. But I think in overall hindsight, it was a really good watch. Something refreshing and not really. I don't think you can't say it's a like to another film, really.
No.
Apart from maybe the twists and turns of actors being
in other thrillers and things like that.
But apart from that, I wouldn't say it's a well-known, replayed story.
No, I agree with you on pretty much most of those points that you've made. So it's similar scoring with an 8 for me as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, we're good, aren't we?
Yeah.
I like it when we agree.
Yeah, and it wasn't like a really long, 2-hour film or anything, was it? It was kind of just roughly about hour and a half, maybe a little bit more. So the runtime was good. It wasn't, you weren't bored at any parts or.
No, it didn't feel like it dragged on for too long. It concluded in a fast pace.
In a good way, yeah. Even I've seen this 3 or 4, maybe a 4th time now, maybe seeing this now, and again that sort of rush with the whole, him going out to sea and stuff. It kind of came flooding back, so to speak. Pardon the pun. And I enjoyed it watching it again. It
is a definite good watch. If you haven't seen it, you probably have. But if you haven't, I would advise watching it or rewatching it. There's a time now where we've got this opportunity to be able to watch. Yeah. And it is on. Was it on Netflix that we?
No, it was. We watched it on Now TV, the Sky Movies package. So it might have to be a streaming thing on rental or something. But or if you got it on DVD or whatever, then that's another option, of course. But yeah,
definitely a good recommend though.
Yeah.
It's light-hearted but intriguing. Yeah. And then kind of gets you a little bit upset, but then you fine in about 5 minutes later. I feel. Yeah. So it's not like one of those. You want light-heartedness right now, and I think that does provide that. So yeah. happy with my scoring. I can't believe we did the same score.
Yeah, no, I'm happy with that as well.
We should start. I don't know why we haven't done it before. I think we need to start doing a score round.
No, I think I'm going to look into going back through the other ones and then write them down somewhere at least. Then we know, like on a spreadsheet or something, and then I know what we've got done.
And then seeing how many times. I don't know if this is the first time we've scored the same or not.
I think there's been another one, but this is why we'll do it so that we know.
We can actually know for sure.
And then come the end of the year, we'll have like a review of like what the highest scores ones and stuff or things like that.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
And then we could do highest score for Sophie, and then you can kind of see what films she likes then.
Yeah, based on those scorings, ratings, So forward to that down the line.
That should be fun.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for listening in to us. I'm hoping we're brightening up your evenings or days.
Or whenever you're listening to us.
Yeah.
So be sure to follow us on Instagram, Twitter. We've also got a Facebook page now as well. So you can follow us on there too. And of course, you can listen to us on Podbean, iTunes, Spotify, and wherever else you might get your podcast from. So
thank you so much again. Hope you've enjoyed this one. Maybe you can leave us a comment or a like or share if you want, thinking somebody might be interested in hearing what we've got to say.
Yep, it's always appreciated to get feedback and ratings and of course people just listening to what we have to say about the films that we discuss.
Just listening to Sophie ranting for half an hour, pretty much.
Yeah. So thank you once again, and we'll speak to you next time.
Take care.
Yeah, take care. Bye for now.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.